My name is Matt Lees and I've just shampooed my hair, which means it's likely to exponentially grow throughout this video. Today I'd like to talk to you about the wacky life simulator from Nintendo, Tomodachi Life, or as it perhaps should be called, Tomodachi Trouble and Tomodachi Strife. That's a Cockney rhyming slang joke. For a game that's being promoted with the tagline, "Real life is too small to contain your dreams," Tomodachi Life is a bit small-minded. It's a game where you have all these me's on an island and they all do wacky things and have crazy dreams and eventually fall in love, get married and have children. Lots of fun. Nintendo fun. Very cool. But there was a problem in the fact that when they originally released the game in Japan, there was a glitch which was described as being funny. Yes, you guessed it. There was a problem, right, where sometimes two men could get married and have kids. Madness. Now, obviously, it's quite common for a lot of games to only really allow for heterosexual relationships, particularly if it's something that's a part of a story arc. You know, no one's going to expect Nathan Drake to suddenly get his knob out and start whopping it in everyone's faces in the middle of Uncharted. Wouldn't really make a lot of sense. But in this situation, obviously, the way they handled this whole bug glitch felt a bit tactless and a bit tasteless, and did lead many to wonder why perhaps it couldn't be an option. After all, for a game about mad little crazy situations, what could possibly be wackier than two people of the same sex falling in love with each other? Now, what I did there was just sort of like basic level homophobia, you know, the sort of thing you'd expect large, quite culturally conservative companies to do. But the fact that in this world of possibilities and madness and crazy things going on, Nintendo didn't think that it might be silly fun to also allow people to get married to people of the same gender is a bit weird and a bit worrying, because this isn't something intrinsic to the design of the game, and it isn't something they just forgot to put in. There was evidently a piece of code in the game that would stop this from happening, and it was that piece of code that went wrong and created this funny glitch. And I mean, it's not like they've painstakingly animated the process at which a baby launches out of a Lady Me's chuff, so why couldn't they just flick the switch and add a bit of silliness? I mean, admittedly, two men falling in love and then a baby just appearing out of nowhere and them looking after that baby would be... it wouldn't make a lot of sense. But this is a game where giant heads come out of the sea and people sing pop songs about nonsense for no reason. Sense doesn't really come into it that much. Anyway, up until this point, all we really had was a game that was released in Japan for a Japanese audience made by a Japanese company, which reflected some values and some attitudes which aren't terribly acceptable in some areas of Western culture, and unfortunately still are very acceptable in certain areas of Western culture. That's not something I'd have a massive go about. People talk about cultural differences, that's fine. Doesn't mean I have to approve of them, but I'm not going to attack other people for what they do in their country, within their culture. But when Nintendo of America responded to criticisms, the situation evolved into something different. And it's this response that's pretty fucking shocking. After explaining that gay relationships wouldn't be included in any version of the game, they then followed up with the insane statement, Nintendo never intended to make any form of social commentary with the launch of Tomodachi Life. Which is weird, because purposefully excluding a large chunk of the world's population for no tangible reason is almost social commentary in itself. Of course, it's not really making any social comment about the world we live in which gays are a tangible, physically real thing that exist in the same way that trees or animals or cake does. So I guess really the comment they're making is about themselves, and I guess the comment is something like, aren't we a big bunch of horrible pricks? People asked if you could maybe alter, localize perhaps, for a Western audience, and the Western arm of your company refused to do so, possibly for fear of making a different statement. But be under no illusion, you're making a statement. You've been making a statement all of the time here. You know, when you described the gay glitch as being funny, that was a bit off. When you yeah, you're involved. Don't think that this is not being involved. And this neatly brings us back to the real big question at the heart of Nintendo. Who are you making games for? Because it seems to me that we've got a clash here between conservative game design and conservative values. Now, the former has done you well for a very long time. People complain about it, people take the piss out of you for it, but it works. You keep releasing Mario games, you keep releasing Zelda games. They're often very similar. Some people get tired of them, sure, but there's always a new generation. There's always another wave of families and kids who are going to enjoy and love your products. But this conservative nature, these conservative values that you're projecting now, are potentially going to damage that. Because the biggest problem here is that Tomodachi Life isn't a game aimed at me. It's a game I perhaps would have enjoyed playing because I'm a big child, but it's not really aimed at me. It's aimed at kids. And kids are sponges. Kids are very affected by the things that they observe. Obviously, they get a lot of their experiences from their parents and their friends, but also media. If you think back to when you were a child, chances are there was a scene in a film, something like that, something a character said that stuck with you. And for whatever reason, no matter how ridiculous it may seem now, you gained a bit of your view on the world and what was the normal way to live from that character in a film. Just putting pieces together. Kids place an enormous amount of value on things that often we think don't matter at all, things that we would gloss over. Now, I haven't got any kids yet, but I can tell you for a fact that when I do have kids, I want to make sure that they know that if they are gay, that's fine. My parents did the same thing for me. Didn't really notice it at the time because the messages they were sending me didn't apply to me because I wasn't gay, but I appreciated it in retrospect because you can't really tell if kids are gay or not. They're kids. They're not, they're kids. Knowing how easy it is for kids to become fixated on the most trivial of things, it makes me sad to know that there are probably gonna be gay kids playing this game, reading into this omission in a way that will be harmful. I'm not a family man yet, but when I am a family man, I want to make sure that the kids I have feel happy and comfortable no matter who they are. If I found out that a Nintendo game had made my child feel uncomfortable about themselves, I'd be bloody livid. After years of building a brand on inclusive family fun, Nintendo have just nudged themselves into a position where from now on, I'm going to feel that to a degree I need to screen these games before I'd let them be played by my as of yet fictional children, which is weird and wrong for a variety of reasons. And I don't want to be like that with you. That's mad, right? You're fun. You're fun. We love you very much. But the thing is, some of the things you say and do, we can't really have that around the kids, so I'm afraid that this Christmas, you're gonna have to stay in the cupboard, Grandad. So while everyone else bangs the drums of doom talking about how Nintendo need to make mobile phone games in order to stay relevant, I think it's more important that they start to adjust these conservative, often dodgy values. The only reason we put up with elderly bigots is because we know they'll be dead soon. If you want to be making money off me and my kids in about 10, 15 years' time, then you're going to have to stop being absolute arseholes. So yeah, just stick to making games about plumbers and shit, because you're not very good at social commentary. Oh, and as a final note, a couple little caveats for those of you who think you've got a great counterpoint. First of all, why should they make games for everyone? Well, that's kind of what they do. They're a family company. And also, it just makes good sense, good business sense. You don't want to needlessly degrade your market when your market is everyone. Second shit argument is that because it's a Japanese game, they shouldn't have to pander to Western culture and they should be able to keep the game as is because it's important that we don't adjust that. Well, that's fine, but the thing is, it's a Japanese product that's been localized for another culture, and the whole process of localization is to make it better suited to the culture you're sending it into. Regardless of what you think about McDonald's, I think they're shit. They do a really good job of localizing their food and their menus to make more money because that's what companies do. And if you truly believe that companies should never pander to the culture of a different country, then you should really start learning lots of languages, because yeah, I mean, why should they translate from Japanese into English? The long and short of this, Nintendo, is that you can't abstain from this conversation. You've already picked a side. And if that's a side you want, that's fine. You can happily sell games to those fucks, but I'm not going to continue buying your stuff in the future unless you can get your stuff in gear. Because I'm afraid this is some black and white shit. We're no longer doing the whole let's debate about whether or not homosexuality is wrong or not. It's just a thing. It's always been a thing throughout history. It's fine. You need to stop doing this. In the same way that it's not acceptable anymore to debate whether or not it's okay to dislike black people. It's just not fucking cool. If you think that this is a debate, then you need to go and find all the people that still think we should have segregation on buses. Oh no, you'll struggle to find them because they're mostly dead. I know that a big chunk of America are still a little bit backwards with all of this stuff, but this is no longer open to debate. You either get with the program or you get left behind. And the same goes for you guys watching at home. You can either come along with us and enjoy the fun party, or you can get left behind and get kicked out of all of the gaming communities and get banned from all of the forums and sites until you've just got a little circle of quite hateful people. I like to spend time around people who are fun, but I mean, it's your call. Anyway, that's it. Yeah, if you do just think that gay people are somehow wrong or that they're unnatural, then I hope you don't have kids. And if you do want to just pop a quick comment below, I will permanently ban you from this channel. Have a nice day. Bye!